Hi, Chandru.
Hi, Hamza.
All right, so I have another question which has come up, and I'd like to get your insights on that. So, in today's environment with AI being used everywhere, the one question that's coming to my mind is how should small business owners approach AI?
Okay, so that's a fair enough question in today's world, given that there is a lot of noise, hype, and of course, public news about artificial intelligence. Words like ChatGPT have become household names. I don't think anybody in this world today is not aware about ChatGPT. We say that, right? Whenever a brand becomes like a noun, like we used to say Xerox a paper. Well, Xerox is obviously the name of a company, and it's the right word is to say that photocopy this paper. But it became so prevalent. So today, anything in AI means people only say ChatGPT, right? While we have mentioned in the past 7 years or so since we started our company and we've been discussing about AI, AI is much more than just being a chatbot or like a language model. And there is so much of AI technology out there, tools out there in the world that everything is being consumed by this great fascination around words like ChatGPT, Gemini. Um, I'm sure there are other tools which are even more prevalent in the tech world, like Cursor, Lovable, Bolt, right? And probably some more industry-specific tools as well. Now, all of this has led many people to start classifying AI as just hype, just noise, right, with no substance or fact. But it's also because there is not a very great understanding about AI amongst the public. And unfortunately, there's a lot of influencers who speak both for and against AI, right? It's not the time to take sides. It's more about trying and finding out as to whether a technology can really help us with our work, with our life, with our career, our business, and many other aspects, right? A technology is only useful as long as it can help achieve our objectives. So that's the first point. For a
Okay,
small business owner,
I
yeah,
have
go.
another question. When you're talking about technology, right? Um, How does a non-technical founder look at the various AI technology available today? Because I'm sure many of our listeners who are small business owners will also feel very overwhelmed with what's happening today.
Yeah, it's just about coming to that point. So when you say a small business owner, right, I'm also looking at senior executives who run departments, business functions that essentially business within businesses, right? So small business does not really mean that you just have a few people, maybe just a small amount of revenue. For everybody, AI is today both a challenge as well as an opportunity, right? And in the past 7 years, as I said, since we started training on AI, developing projects for customers on AI, and now recently with all the hype around ChatGPT, and more recently with the sort of tsunami of developmental work happening through tools like Cursor and Lovable. In fact, interestingly, I saw a tweet by somebody senior enough who said that just one hackathon 2 weeks back that the company called Lovable had launched, people had generated more than 2.5 million apps or websites. Just imagine in just 48 hours. Now, this is not something which you can sort of visualize so easily till I tell you that literally represents probably 20 to 25% of all the existing websites and apps on the internet today. So the internet, as we know, grew over a period of several decades, but AI is moving at lightning speed, right? However, in all of this, the fundamentals remain the same. So what I would suggest, my personal experience also has been dabbling with AI now, is that first you have to be clear about your objectives. A business owner, they have to be clear about their objectives. Do you really want more business? Do you really want more leads? Do you want to reduce the amount of time spent in manual tasks? Do you want to improve your cash flow? So the first step that a business owner or a senior executive have to be very, very clear is, what is your objective. It's not the technology. I mean, forget the technology, right? I'm sure there'll be a lot of consultants who are there who can fit a lot of technology to your requirements. But what is more important is for you to be clear about your objectives, and you are the only person who can determine that. So in my case, for example, right, I decided that I want to create a what we famously call as a SaaS product, right? Software as a service product under the brand name of smartmaya.ai. And once I did that, and over a period of 2 years of development, and then recently with AI powered development, then I wanted more leads for this particular product. Now, as a small business owner, I have very limited resources. And how do I really get leads, right? I don't have a big sales team, a marketing team. I don't have the resources nor the money. So first, I had to go through an OKR exercise, right? What we famously call as the objectives and key results area. So let me just see if I can just bring something up for you. Probably it might make more sense as we keep discussing, right? Give me a second as I bring this up. Okay, I just did
Sure.
a basic sort of Google search. So when you look at this particular term, OKR has been made famous in strategy circles. So it's basically a goal setting framework. So this can be by individuals, teams, or organizations, right? Now, the whole purpose of having an objective and key results is so it gives you a direction to go, what milestones you should reach, and what are the set of tactics and techniques you need to sort of implement so that you get key results area. So it's like each of them building upon each other till you sort of meet your objectives, right? Now, this sort of framework you use, I mean, you're free to use many other frameworks. OKR is just one of them, right? And I'm sure you can use something like chat gpt to even guide you to decide what strategy to use and even set up this OKR. So in fact, I have actually set up an OKR for myself. I can't disclose the actual OKRs for reasons of confidentiality, but fundamental idea is that you need to actually be very clear in terms of what you want to achieve as part of your business for this financial year or for the next few years. And once you are very clear with that, then you can go on to figure out what technology to use, what I should really do in AI, right? And then as I said, you can also use ChatGPT to come and ask, hey, what is it that I should use as a strategy tool? Is it OKR, or are there some other things that I should really be using, right? So probably in terms of how to set up an OKR and how do you really go about building this whole house of OKR, we will tackle in a different podcast, and what tools you can use for it, because it's a more of a strategy consulting session. However, at this point of time, it's more important for us to know that you need to have very ambitious and qualitative goals, and these should be smart metrics, which is your specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Once you are able to finalize this, let's say over a period of few days or few weeks, then you start really looking at what AI to really use out over here, right? Now let's for a moment assume that your OKRs are set. Now the next thing that you would really want to do is you could do two things. One, either you can go with an external consultant whom you trust, or probably you look at some global analyst firms. So for the purposes of the podcast, let me just share one more visual. So this is by Gartner, and this is a visual I saw on LinkedIn that they had posted. And Gartner talks about AI maturity and roadmap, right? So what are the various things that you need to do starting and then going on to advanced activities, right? And as with any consulting or analyst company, there's a lot of stuff that you can go through here to understand what should be your roadmap of using AI based on your OKRs. And you could sort of go through these various steps or activities as Gartner is suggesting. Again, that's the scope of the podcast. We can't go through what Gartner is mentioning, and probably a lot of this is IP of Gartner, except that it's publicly published. So I'm just sharing it, and the credits are due to Gartner. However, one easy thing that I would definitely inform the listeners of this podcast is you could actually go into agents.smartmaya.ai. Now, why I specifically talk about this site is, again, this site and the tools I'm going to show you are all generated using AI. Uh, could I have had a tech team or IT team to develop this? Answer is yes. But do I really needed to do this? And the answer is no, right? So to help our clients, that our small business owners or senior execs, we basically devised AI readiness assessment tool, free of cost. Anybody can access it. It's at the footer of this particular page. And what really happens is that anybody who wants to really understand what they are, you know, uh, doing with AI, how do they really sort of get ready for AI, and what sort of insights I have about my own organization's AI maturity, use this quick tool. I think it's about 10 questions or so. And once you do this, answer these, you get a comprehensive analysis. And this analysis is across 5 key dimensions of AI readiness, which is about strategy, data, talent, infrastructure, and governance. And you get a personalized insights in total confidentiality. We don't store the data anywhere. And you also have actionable recommendations coming up over here, right? And again, this app also was in consultation with AI, and of course my own background as an analyst, and how typically consulting and transformation engagements actually happen. But I've tried to make it more simpler because I don't want to add too much hype, given the current hype which is there. So all I do is, for example, I click on the first thing in terms of what are the various sort of what you can call questions that are there, right? I was answering this earlier, so probably you are seeing this, that I've answered all of these out over here. And you would see that there are about 10 questions you really answer. So question number one says, do you have a clear AI strategy which is aligned with business goals, right? You could answer any of this, right? No strategy, which is a fair enough answer. Or you could just say initial discussions. So now, for the purposes of this assessment, you'd see that the AI generally saves this, right? And you can then go on to what is your next thing, which says, how does your management or leadership team view AI adoption? You could say that, okay, they are trying to be very cautious, right? There's a lot of text at the bottom you could answer. I'm, for the purpose of the podcast, I'm trying to fast forward this whole thing, right? And then you could go ahead and answer the rest of the questions as you would want to, specific to your situation, customized to your requirements, right? And you can take it as many times as possible along with as many colleagues as you want, so that you have a very clear understanding. And very simple exercise, only 10 questions. And this is, as I said, customized to your requirements, right? You could change this just with radio buttons, quite an easy one. And you could say that we are highly siloed in terms of our, I'm just answering as we are going forward, right? uh, Things like ethical considerations, awareness. uh, Typically in 2025 July, as we speak, I don't think anybody has a very specific plan, and the approaches are typically ad hoc at this point of time, which is also in line with a new technology coming into the space. So you would see that it has given an AI readiness which is specific to your organization based on the answers that you have just given. And you would see that it has given you a score of 2.2, that is, you are only developing AI readiness. So it says continue building on your foundation with structured approaches. And you do have, and what I call as a, spider diagram, but fundamentally you would see that this across the various dimensions which are important in terms of the readiness across the various areas. And the scores against each of these areas are also mentioned out here, like things like talent, you're only scoring 2.5 out of 5.0, right? And then at the bottom, interestingly, you would see that you get the various recommendations. So you would say that based on your score, it says, why don't you create a formal AI strategy document aligned with business objectives? right? And also, can you establish KPIs for AI initiatives? Could you develop a roadmap for AI adoption with clear milestones? Sounds simple, but you need a sort of a guiding, consulting expert sitting next to you, working with you across these dimensions as well, right? And you potentially go on to click on each of the others, like, for example, under data. What should you do? Create a unified data architecture blueprint, right? Now, click on talent. Pretty important in today's world. I say, like, hey, can you set up like a center of excellence with dedicated staff? And can you like implement formal career paths? Because people are very worried about jobs, and rightfully so, right? And could you actually create project teams? Now, again, though I come from a tech background, projects are there in any company, right? It could be a chemical plant, it could be a real estate agency. Everything you can do is based on a project, deadlines, milestones, resources, the achievements as you go forward. So you could be clear in terms of how you want your talent to be part of your AI strategy and AI journey. Then what is the infrastructure that you need for AI implementation? How do you really look at your data? Because your data is your data, right? And data is as important as your resources, your chemical plants, as I said, the cash you have in the bank. Data is equally important. And that's the only thing which distinguishes you from other companies, your competitors. And then you could then look at, could you have some pilot projects running? And finally, you look at governance. Governance is very important because one, you can't do whatever you want, because today's compliance issues, regulatory issues are quite diverse across many countries, and ethics and bias is a big challenge in the AI world. So you need to have an AI ethics committee or a group. And also, what is the approval processes for AI projects? What should be the transparency guidelines for customer facing apps? Like, are you going to use customer data? Are you going to share the IP with your clients? First and foremost, are they aware that you're going to use their data? Or are you going to share their data with people like OpenAI or Google? So you have to be upfront clear. So if you, for example, if you go to our terms of service or the privacy policy of Wisely Wise or smartmaya.ai, you would see that we have put in a lot of literature in terms of how we look at our own data which is generated by our clients, and what we do with client data that we sort of interact with. It could be as simple as a client name or a client email ID, or it could be a very important one such as their leads that we manage through CRMs. So as you can see, in a span of, let's say, 10 minutes or so, I have done a complete consulting exercise for a client, and this is something that probably is worth $50,000 to $100,000, and which we are now giving free of cost to anybody, so that they can understand as to how exactly they can get started off with, right? So I have covered two steps here till now. One is, what is the first one, Hamsar? It's objectives, getting your strategy in place,
Okay. The OKRs.
right? And the second is getting your assessment itself done, and that is important for you. And I say you, I'm talking about a small business owner or a senior executive, to be on the right path as far as AI is concerned, where the world is heading towards, and also ensure that you lead a normal life, right? I find many business owners and executives really losing the peace of mind. What is this AI? Why should I get into AI? Or being sarcastic about it or cynical
Mm.
about it or whatever, right? But I really take the different approach in terms of that this is a completely new way of we are going to do things. Probably is a very good opportunity for people to reevaluate the existence of their businesses. Is it in line with their life's philosophy and objectives? And then you could really pivot out, or maybe strengthen the direction in which you are going. So I would say that we have thought really about all of this, and that's why we built these tools, and we're giving it free of cost to people who are is like wanting to start off with their assessment or whatever, so that you really don't have to spend a lot of money to even get started. And probably that's also something in the minds of many business owners as to, am I first supposed to spend $5,000? Am I supposed to spend $40,000? You really don't have to do this. Just follow these two steps, which you can just use a Microsoft Word or even pen and paper to get your objectives right, your key results right, and then use the tools which is given in SmartMaya agents.smartmaya.ai, and you should be well on your journey. So I'll just take a break. You can ask me any questions you have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chandru. And you have shared a whole lot of knowledge in terms of the approach that small business owners should take. And this tool is fantastic. So we'll put a link of this in our description as well for those who want to try it for free. And you're evaluating AI. Fantastic tool. Thank you so much for sharing. And of course, I have another question that's coming in my mind is, Chandru, for you as a founder, you're a very technical person, right? You have a background in computer science and you have been working in this AI domain for quite some time now, many years now. So, what about business owners who do not have a technical background and they really are new to AI? What should be their mindset to get started?
Um, just as I mentioned in the previous conversation, that it's a very, very good time to evaluate your business's existence, your own philosophy. It's got nothing to do with any background as a computer science person or a technical person. The way the world is evolving fast is that you're going to see more of this automation and less of manual inputs and less of repetitive and monotonous tasks as we go forward. Probably, as I said, in rest of 2025, as we are having this podcast, you may not see that with a single prompt or with a single instruction, AI can do everything or so. But I'm pretty much sure by next year, it should come into place. So the main thing that every small business owner should have in mind is this: you be clear about why your business exists, you be clear why you're running that business, and just keep trialing with AI. Maybe I would always say that if it is possible for you, spend at least, let's say, 10% of your time, 10% of your money on AI related initiatives. It could be training, it could be getting a certification, it could be buying some licenses for some of these tools, and maybe buying even a new MacBook Pro or something like that, so that you can start playing around with these AI tools, right? Uh, don't get carried away too much by somebody giving a certificate saying that I will teach you AI, and you have to learn Python programming and all of this. See, any amount of knowledge is always good, but as a business owner, I will always say that we don't have the luxury of time in the world. I'm always prioritizing 24 by 7 as a small business owner. I'm always prioritizing. My mind is always on my balance sheet. My mind is always on my customers. My mind is always on operations and my employees, right? I don't have time to think of other things or whatever, right? So the objective would be to say that first come to a firm conviction that AI is going to be the future, be it any industry, not just because I'm in AI, I'm trying to evangelize AI or whatever, right? I'm sure by now everybody realizes why AI is so important. The challenge is, where is it going to be important? And how do you really approach it? Which is what we're trying to address in this podcast. And as small steps, you have to definitely, as I said, if you invest 10% of your time every month or 10% of your money in a year, and see if you can gain some more knowledge, play around, try to create some apps. It could be any domain, finance or marketing or whatever. I'm sure you will start appreciating. It will open up the sort of constraints in your mind. It will throw new challenges. It will get rid of new challenges, sorry, the old challenges, and you will be in a much better position compared to, let's say, a month back. We always have this famous thing which we say, right? I mean, let me see if I have that picture, or uh, we always use it in our uh, consulting assignments. Is the transformation of a butterfly. So it goes through many stages, from an egg to a larva to a pupa to an adult butterfly. Now, the question you have to ask is, did the butterfly know that it actually originated as a larva and became a pupa? The answer is no. Will the egg or the larva know that it will become a butterfly? The answer is no. But it's through a process. Can we do away with one or two stages and still fast forward the process of making a butterfly? The answer is again no, right? So it is always an evolutionary thing. It's never a revolutionary thing, right? Though people call it AI as an industrial revolution, but in the business world, you think revolutions will never succeed, right? What is more important is for you to go through the transformation, and it has to happen one day at a time. If you think there is a magical consulting exercise and a magical software, and sort of I can invest in some projects, and I'm going to be transformed, the challenge is, and people should appreciate, is in 2025 nobody knows how AI is going to change the world. Neither me nor any great AI genius out over there who are leading the whole this, and they themselves are not in consensus. So they themselves are like probably fighting out, debating with each other on social media forums. So I think having the analogy of this butterflies life cycle stages is a very good one for people to understand that you have to be through the process, and you will land up as being a butterfly on the other side of thing, because anyway AI is changing everything. If you stop, if you don't want to be part of the process, well, there's no butterfly, right, at the end of the process. So it's a very simple way that small business owners should really look at. And it's got nothing to do, again, as I said, with somebody's technical capabilities. Should you learn something? Do you have the luxury of learning something? Should I become technically more competent? The answer to all of that is yes. But is that critical? Without that, I won't be able to survive in the AI world. The answer is no. Anybody can do, right? So get your fundamentals in place, get your, as I said, OKRs in place, and be clear about the transformation. You are in good shape as you go forward, right? It's not going to be easy though. That much is for sure. I'm going through that, and I do it on a daily basis, and I'm telling you, it is. But it's high adrenaline. You just get charged up. You want to do a lot of stuff. You can look at different sort of business models emerging. And if you're a fan of business models and being coming from a B school like me, then obviously you want to know more, you want to try more. So that's probably the way that you have to really look at all of this.
Right. Thank you so much, Chandru. You shared a lot of insights coming in from your own experience over the years, and I'm sure all the listeners here would find this very, very useful. So, having said that, AI is something which is very new, and I'm just for recapping the whole thing. So, AI is something which is very much part of our lives, and as business owners, it's better to get started, but don't get overwhelmed, but take it one step at a time. But the point is, you need to get started, right? So we'll come back again in the next episode with another interesting topic. And I do suggest to the learners, if you would like any specific topic to be covered in our podcast, do leave us a message in the comment section, and we'll look into that. And having said that, thank you so much, Andrew, once again for the wealth of information and knowledge you're sharing with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll well summarize. We'll catch up later. Thanks. Bye.